And we begin this half hour with sad news from Ontario, where prominent anti-poverty activist and Second World War veteran Harry Leslie Smith has died. Smith was a passionate advocate for refugee rights and spent the majority of his life telling their stories. CTV's Akshay Tandon has more for us this morning. Akshay, this is a real loss for the human rights community.
Morning, Marcia. Indeed, this is a huge loss for the human rights community, where we have lost Harry earlier today. Harry Leslie Smith passed away at the age of 95. The announcement was made via Twitter. We spoke to his son, John Smith, earlier this morning, who described his father's impact during his lifetime.
He was the bridge to the history of the 20th century for the millennial generation. He was a person that could connect with millennials and tell them about his struggles in the 1930s and during the Second World War and how his generation changed society. And he wanted the millennials to be the greatest generation of the 21st century.
John, his son, was with him till the end, took to social media and updated the world, declaring his father, Harry Leslie Smith, had passed. He wrote, and I quote, "At 3:39 a.m. this morning, my dad, Harry Leslie Smith, died. I am an orphan. Hashtag I stand with Harry." Harry was a messiah for refugees and worked with them the world over, a prominent anti-poverty activist, much-loved political commentator who authored several books on Great Depression, the Second World War and austerity. Breathed his last in a Belleville, Ontario hospital after a brief stint with pneumonia. He had suffered a fall last week.
I am Harry Leslie Smith. I am the world's oldest rebel. It doesn't matter what the colour of your skin is or what your education was or whatever job you did before you came here. You are now Canadian.
Nicknamed as the world's oldest rebel, he devoted the latter years of his life visiting refugee hotspots, documenting their suffering, and urged governments world over to have a more compassionate view. Born in England, he was an idol to many British politicians, some of whom made rich tributes to him today during a session in Parliament.
He was an irrepressible campaigner for the rights of refugees, for the welfare state and for our National Health Service. He was passionate about the principle of healthcare for all as a human right. We thank Harry for his life and his work.
I'm sure that the whole House will wish to pass our condolences as well to the family and friends of Harry Leslie Smith.
Well, rich tributes they're pouring in Britain. Much of his work influenced by his early childhood when his family was too poor to even afford healthcare, Marcia.
And he was active even in his later years. This was his passion.
Absolutely, Marcia. This was his passion. In fact, on Twitter, for example, he had thousands of people who were following him, more than 250,000, we believe, for his outspoken activism on behalf of refugees from around the world. Harry drew his experiences from the Second World War, where he was stationed in Germany with Royal Air Force. And just last year, at the age of 94, he raised over $71,000 for his Harry's Last Stand refugee tour, where he visited, quote, refugee hotspots in an effort to find a solution to the crisis. Now, Smith, his son, John, has vowed to continue Harry's legacy and finish his work. For the moment, it's back to you, Marcia.
OK, Akshay, thanks for that. Appreciate it.